Right. Attention has to turn now. We thought it was over. We thought we were done with football, but we're not. Back into the international fixtures. But before we get stuck into the actual games themselves, some big breaking news coming out this morning. England goalkeeper Mary Earps will be retiring from international football with immediate effect. Earps put out on Instagram, there are so many dimensions to this decision, the details of which aren't important right now, but what it boils down to is it's now the right moment for me to step aside. This is a new era and a new England team. I would not be doing this unless I thought it was absolutely the right thing to do, as much as it hurts. Catherine Bassey at The Telegraph reported that Earps told her teammates on Monday evening. Apparently it was quite an awkward meeting. Wiegman is said to be a little bit angry at the timing of Earps' decision. She played 5 matches in 2024 and 1 this year. Wiegman said, after the April matches, I have 2 world-class goalkeepers. At the moment, Hannah is a little bit ahead. This was not the news that I was expecting to wake up to this morning. The timing of this, obviously, less than, I think it's like 40 days or something silly like that until the Euros, leaving a situation in which Hannah Hampton, Kiara Keating and Anna Morehouse will probably be the goalkeepers that are chosen for that Euros squad. You would have expected, or I definitely was expecting, that Mary Earps, obviously massive competition between her and Hannah Hampton and who was going to pick up that number 1 jersey. Hannah Hampton definitely looked like the favourites given that she was sort of starting in the last few international fixtures, but Mary Earps definitely not out of the running by any means, and also expected to go along and be there as a massive part of the camp. I mean, she's such a massive personality. She's obviously won the Euros before. She was significant in that campaign, not only with her on the pitch stuff, but also the off the pitch campaigns that she had with Nike and the bonus situation. She was such a massive leader and massive personality, and it feels like a huge loss. I mean, Rachel, what's your reaction to this news? It's come out of nowhere, it feels.
Yeah, absolutely stunned. I think it's probably stunned a lot of people. More often than not, working in the media, you might have an inkling or a whisper of things that might be happening, or say transfers that might be happening, or whatever that might be. You're very rarely completely stunned by news that comes out, and that has absolutely shocked me, to be honest. The timing is very unusual, and I don't want to speculate about the why. And I know people will probably be saying, oh, she's thought she's going to be number 2 and now she's decided. I don't want to speculate on that yet. I don't think that's right. Like, there's many reasons why someone might make this decision, but yeah, I just find the timing very unusual, and 5 weeks before a Euros, it just leaves England very little time to get in another goalkeeper with that level of experience. And I can't help but think, like, the thing with England was you always knew, not that it didn't matter who started, but you never thought, oh God, it's Earps starting, or oh, it's Hampton starting. You never thought that. You were either like, oh cool, okay, it's Hampton. Oh, it's Earps. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. It's probably for this, tactical reason, because both were such top class goalkeepers and both had built such a good relationship with the defenders around them. So I think that's the concern for me, is who is that other option now. And when I think back to the Euros in 2022 and Van Veenendaal got injured, I think in like the first game, and Daphne van Domselaar had to step up and had an unbelievable tournament, who is that next goalkeeper that could potentially be, whether she was second and number 2 goalkeeper or not? Like, it's just that kind of worry now that you've left that gap a little bit. And I can understand Sarina being frustrated by that, because they've got 3 games left, I think, before the tournament starts. Not a lot of time, probably not games she thought you'd have to consider giving other goalkeepers time or minutes or whatever that might be. So yeah, it's a big surprise, a big loss. She'll be a big miss in the England squad. She's such a character, such a personality, always good to talk to from a media perspective. And yeah, I think a lot of young fans will be gutted not to see Mary Earps in an England shirt.
I think it's that, like, when you look at sort of, the impact that she's had on goalkeepers and how she's changed around the perception of goalkeeping and what she's done for the position, it's been absolutely huge. And you can imagine the disappointment of so many of those young fans who would have gone to the competition expecting to see Mary Earps and be wearing those shirts, and kind of, she does generate so much personality around the tournament itself. I mean, how many times did we see TikTok videos of her behind the scenes doing stuff with the other players and sort of being that big energy and being that big presence? I mean, you think about how she was in that Euros tournament. She was an absolute force. And I'm not saying that Hannah Hampton won't deliver the same kind of thing, because obviously we've seen her pull out, world-class performances. She's more than capable. I have full trust that she's going to deliver on the same level as Mary could. But yeah, I have to admit that I'm a little bit nervous about the situation it places the England squad in. I mean, we're still sort of hearing, who's going to be coming back from injury, and sort of there's still that. I can see a little bit of Scotty's ear in the, and it's given me a lot of comfort as we talk through this very depressing and heartbreaking section of the podcast. It just feels like it is a little bit precarious, and I feel like it's an England squad now going into the tournament a lot weaker than we had before, whilst we still obviously wait for some of the injuries and the niggles to kind of clear up. And, I think a lot of the teams will also be looking at that news thinking, like, good, that makes the England squad a little bit less of a threat than they were previously. I mean, do you think that's going to be sort of playing on other teams' mind? Are they going to be looking at that thinking, yeah, great, all right, sweet, England, a lot weaker now?
Yeah, that's just shocked. I'm just, I don't know, what does...
Still processing it, mate, still shell shocked.
What, like, it's just another thing now that needs to be considered and dealt with and managed 5 weeks before a major tournament. And look, I know it would be perhaps more impactful if it was an outfield starting player, but she is still key. And I know even if she was number 2, she's still key. She's still so important in that squad. So it's not like a number 2 that never plays. Do you know what I mean? So we don't even know for sure if that's what it was. So it's, very few things absolutely stun me in football anymore, but that is definitely one of them.
100%. And I think also just want to say, like, from us at Upfront, obviously the decision feels like it's been taken maybe for personal reasons, so hoping that Mary is okay and that she's like, that's like first and foremost, absolutely, that's her priority, and she's clearly made that decision not lightly and not easily. So yeah, also really congratulations on an amazing career and what you've delivered for English football. And I hope that she can take some time out this summer and kind of reflect on that and enjoy herself. I think the pressure leading up to a major tournament, it's going to be killer for any player. So to have that kind of taken off and to enjoy this summer and go out there, I'm assuming she'll be out there probably supporting the girls and things. So all the best, and thank you for what you've done for goalkeeping, because it's definitely helped a lot of us change the perception around the best position on the pitch, personally. Right, let's get stuck into the international fixtures. England take on Portugal at Wembley on Friday in the Nations League before facing Spain on Tuesday in Barcelona. 2 wins will take England into the semi-finals of the competition in October. Millie Bright has withdrawn from the squad yesterday to take an extended break and allow a period of recovery. Lotte Wubben-Moy has been called up to take her place. Are we concerned about Bright and other players' fitness heading into the Euros? There's still sort of there's a few niggles that are still sort of we're waiting to hear more on.
I'm all right with that for now. I think she needs a break. She's played an awful lot of football this season, so knowing when to time that is important. And I think, we know she's going to be one of the first names on the team sheet, so I think it's important that players are able to be given a little bit of a rest. So of course, you might look at it and go, oh, who's going to play in there, etc., etc. But, I think it's the right thing to do. And if it means she comes back fitter and more ready for Euros, then I'm all right with that. And, there's some niggles that it's a worry. LJ's a worry. But it's good seeing some of the other players who were concerns coming back into the squad. So it all balances out, I'm sure. And it gives other players an opportunity as well, which I think is needed before a major tournament. I think this window is interesting. They kind of have a decision to make on how they use these games. On one hand, obviously you want to win, of course, but it's an opportunity, as you can see, to rest some players. I imagine against Portugal, we might not see as many Arsenal players, for example, coming back from the Champions League, or even United players who are and Man City players who are involved in the sevens. Obviously United going on to the final there. Chelsea playing a huge amount of football as well. So it's interesting to see, will that be used to see maybe a few changes for that Portugal game? But also it's a window to help potentially completely firm up the Euros squad, and then maybe you do want to use it for that. So there's a couple of things that this window can be used for. So she has a decision to make on how she does that.
Well, I think it's going to be that, isn't it? Sort of how you manage the squad, given that you're still having players recover, but you still need that time to really bed in what the team dynamics look like and some of the formations and still working that out. Because obviously you've got quite a few younger players also coming into the squad, and how you want to utilise those and sort of make sure that they're gelling with the old schoolers, the OGs. But Ireland are also back in League B on Friday as they face Turkey and then Slovenia next week. They either need Slovenia to drop points against Greece or have a big swing in goal difference when they play next Tuesday to have any hope of finishing top. The winners of each group in League B will be promoted to League A. Even if Ireland do finish in second, though, they will have a chance to play one of the third place teams from League A to see if they will take one of the final 4 spots in League A. That was really tough to read. The reason why that is important is that the standings at the end of this Nations League campaign determines which teams are placed in each league for the European qualifiers for the 2027 World Cup, which we laid out just like the Nations League. At the end of those qualifiers, the 4 League A winners will qualify directly, while other teams will have to go through the playoffs to claim the 7 additional places. Are you still with me? Is everyone still on?
I don't know.
Yeah, that was...
Just think back to Ireland trying to qualify for these Euros, and remember how we said, as hard as it was that they were in League A facing difficult teams, they made the playoffs. They were guaranteed a playoff spot. They had the safety net, and that's why being in League A is important when qualifying for a major tournament, because it doesn't matter where you place, you still have the safety net to allow you to continue trying to qualify. So
nailed it. Thank you so much for that, Rach. That was really, really helpful. Even as I was reading it, and even as I was trying to process it as I was reading it, a lot of that was really quite difficult. They don't make these competition formats very easy, do they? Or accessible.
Like to keep you on your toes.
It's like, yeah, 100%. You kind of have to be a bit Rain Man-esque to try and figure out what's going on with each competition and what group you might be in and how you qualify for each competition across European and also World Cup. And anyway, we got there in the end. Scotland are in action against Austria and the Netherlands. But the big news is that Rachel Corsie has called time on her career. Another big dog calling time on their career. She announced on Monday that she will retire next week after living in chronic pain with a knee injury that kept her out for the majority of this season. It had already been announced that she would leave Aston Villa this summer. The operation she had this season was the 5th she's had in her career on her left knee. She's played 154 times for Scotland and will say goodbye to Hampton on Friday night. I mean, what a career, what a reign, Rach. I mean, we've spoken to Rachel. I know you've spoken to her a fair few times. She's such a great character too, such a great personality and such a great leader. But I think you forget sometimes just the impact that they've had on international football. 154 times for your country is absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, you forget the impact maybe they have on football, and also sometimes you forget the impact football has on players as well. And I think, players in the game who've gone through so much physically and mentally, and she obviously went through a lot with Scotland as well and was a key leader in them trying to improve things at Scotland, and part of the teams that qualified for major tournaments. But so in terms of a leader perspective, a huge loss for them, but equally a reminder of what football does to players' bodies and the things they put themselves through to continue playing and to represent their country. So it doesn't come as a huge surprise that she's made that decision, but she will be missed, particularly from Scotland. She will be hugely missed, both on and off the pitch.
Oh, I love that, right? That's a really lovely ending as well. 2 absolutely massive players announcing their retirement. 2 players that have had a massive impact on football, and wishing them both the absolute best in their careers and whatever they go on to do afterwards. Mary Earps obviously still playing for PSG, so time is not done for her just yet.